Hello everyone, and welcome to Transcend Liberalism, where we will be discussing a wide range of political and social topics from the perspective of a classical Western liberal. I will be discussing topics such as...
So my generation is fed up with capitalism.
No, we're not. And please don't interrupt me when I'm trying to do my video introduction.
44% of American millennials prefer to live in a socialist country.
You're speaking for your generation like you are the majority. I hate to tell you this, but 44% is the minority. You can't just claim to speak for your generation when the majority of it, 56%, disagree with you. What you should say is, less than half of millennials wish to live in a socialist country. But that wouldn't fit with the message that you're trying to build here now, would it?
Now, there's criticism built into the survey itself, pointing out that they don't really know how to define properly socialism, communism, capitalism. And you know what? That's probably true, but I don't think that's the main point here at all.
That is exactly the point of your opening statement. You claim 44% of millennials want to live in a socialist country. But if they can't define what a socialist country is, then your claim is inaccurate. In fact, most millennials aren't socialists at all. They are just social democrats. They still believe in capitalism, but with a high tax state and a generous welfare system for the populace. Most millennials don't want to seize the means of production for the masses. The problem with your video here is, you don't address that. You would rather continue to muddle and blur the lines of what socialism is using misinformation to trick people into thinking the socialists have their best interest in mind.
The main point is that millennials feel that they can no longer live in this dog-eat-dog world, that the air is filled with this super competitive, cutthroat mentality, filling the air with hostility.
Here, let's unweave that veiled message of entitlement eloquently worded to engage the viewer's emotional responses, shall we? So because less than half of millennials, who are one of like 5 generations on this planet, feel like they can't compete, that they should be entitled to have their lifestyle subsidized simply because competition is hard. So then just say it. Just say what you want. You want equality of outcome.
And so they feel that it doesn't make sense that we live in a highly technological world with 3D printing and AI and automation.
These things brought to you by capitalism.
And still, we live like modern-day slaves, put in a rat race, struggling to make ends meet. They know that it doesn't make sense that up to 50% of all food produced globally is going to waste, while about half the people of the world are starving. They know it in their hearts that another world is possible. And in that respect, I completely and wholeheartedly agree with my generation.
I agree with you. It is heartbreaking to see people going hungry. But you do realize nothing is stopping you from donating money and food to charities that help people who are going hungry, right? That's why I donate what I can, because the world you described already exists here and now. I don't know what world you are imagining.
So the question is how? How do we move from here to there? What is the turning point for social change, for real social change?
Finally, we can get to the point of your video.
Let's put all the isms aside. Why? Because they create a knee-jerk reaction that puts you on a certain team.
But that's all you've been doing in this video up to this point. Okay, fine. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Please continue.
You're a socialist or you're a capitalist, you're a communist or you're an anarchist. You have to pick a side, pick a political candidate, pick a political agenda. Let's put all of that aside for a second and just think, why can't we have a more equal society, one that's better to live in? In theory, most people would agree with ideas like equality and mutual consideration and empathy and kindness, love even. Why not?
I absolutely agree. If you meet a stranger, you should give them the same kind and courteous respect you would expect back from them. But what is an equal society to you?
But in practice, it just doesn't happen, does it? In practice, we gravitate to the default state of our being, the default state of our primal survival instincts taking control, where self-benefit precedes everything else.
Because that is what life does. Struggles against adversity for survival. Humans are just highly evolved animals. The difference being between us and other known animals is we can contemplate the fragile struggle that is life. It's no longer just an instinct for us.
You can't force these ideas of equality and kindness and so forth. You can't shove mutual consideration down people's throat, right?
No, you can't. When you tell people they can't do something, they will want to do it more. Reactants, the bitter fruit always tastes so much sweeter.
But that's also why millennials are so right in their gut level feeling that we have to change our culture completely.
Or you could just band together and create your own subculture and gather up all of your wealth and divide it amongst everybody in your group. Nobody is stopping you from doing that. But no, because you believe it's good for you, it also must be good for everyone else.
That we have to fundamentally, massively change how we relate to each other. See, that would be the only way to activate that potential for human connection. We have that wiring, we have a natural wiring for human connection that makes us better, it makes us happier, it makes us healthier, it makes us more resilient, more productive.
It's called serotonin, not socialism.
But we just continue to live in a primitive kind of environment that only promotes that primitive urge within us for self-survival and self-benefit on top of everything else.
Because competition prepares us for the unforeseeable so that when we come face to face with a crisis, we don't become the pigeon who has become dependent on the elderly woman who feeds them every day at the park. Because if and when something happens to the old woman, the birds will have lost their ability to fend for themselves when resources aren't as plentiful as they were in the past.
So, in order to create a better society, in order to even consider social constructs that are new, that can hold in the long term, we're going to have to undergo nothing less than a change of human consciousness.
Translation: you need to start thinking like us, because your diversity of thought is inhibiting our ability to change society to our collective view of how it should be.
We're going to have to begin to feel each other as interdependent beings. We're going to have to be organically motivated, passionate towards creating a society where everyone is happy and secure and have everything they need. And until we do that, we can't really change our society, can we? Or our economy, for that matter.
And I would like a society based on individual freedom, where people can make the choice for themselves whether or not they want to be interdependent, where they have the opportunity to live happy and secure lives that they have chosen for themselves. The last thing I would like is for those who think like you, changing the economy.
We have to actually recognize with all our critical faculties that caring for everyone else is caring for ourselves too.
Again, I agree. The difference in our views are, I believe people should have the choice to care for others, whereas you want to coerce people to act through social change. I want people to have the freedom to have that choice. You want forced action.
I believe this change is inevitable.
You can pry my liberty from my cold, dead hands.